Welcome to RGBA, Colorful Tech News and Reviews. This is episode 84. My name is Alexandre Valia-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tade Ménard. Let's start with a bit of follow-up this week. Copyright 2010, John Siracusa. So first of all, the Spike Jonze video that went around the internet that was super popular. People were all amazed by the CGI in this video. Basically, it wasn't that much CGI, it seems.
No, so there's a making of video. I prefer this. They should have aired this instead of the commercial. And they go through all the steps showing like the whole set that expands and how like it's all on wheels and it's people pushing and like all the creative process of the I forget the girl's name that's dancing with all her like not teachers but like choreographs or something.
Yeah, exactly, choreographs.
And trying to match like her movements with the beat of the song and the flow of the song and also like the flow of the walls and the whole set moving around her. So it's really cool. I didn't really enjoy the commercial. It's cool, but this was even cooler. I'd watch this thing for like 45 minutes if they had a real making of video.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive the way that they do it. It's like good old-fashioned visual effects, basically. But I was really expecting that all the lines and everything would be like fully CGI and like seriously, I wasn't expecting much from the way that they were doing the effects in the old days. But in the end, this is just a perfect amount of realism and CGI. Yeah, very impressive. So last week I called up that the new Apple event going on in Chicago will not be live streamed. And sadly, we got a PSA from Mac Rumors saying that I was right. So Apple updated the event app on Apple TV to explain that the event will not be streamed, but the video will be available a couple of hours later. So that's pretty sad. So we won't be able to sit live. Thankfully, there's going to be a bunch of journalists there, so at least we'll be able to follow a live stream of tweets or Mac Rumors Live or whatever other site does the exact same thing. So I think Jason Snell from Six Color also has a Six Color Live account, so we'll be able to follow it nonetheless, but not live, so that's a bit of a bummer.
I think for Six Colors, it's Dan Morin that used to do the live, but from like watching the video or something, or maybe he's there too.
Okay.
So I don't know what's gonna happen now. I guess all the people that are going are shuffling because they're gonna have to like bring their old setup of this Wi-Fi hotspot to connect their camera, to connect their laptop, to start posting pictures quickly to the blog, like the live blog feed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I remember Jason saying that he usually is just sitting down with a pen and paper and taking notes. And at the same time, Dan Morin was the one doing all the live stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be something quite interesting to see going back to the old ways of laptop, camera, hotspot, and everything, trying to click here, click there, send this, send that. And yeah.
It's like the good old days.
Exactly.
It's where we all started.
Yeah, exactly. Like a couple of years back, those events were never streamed, so it was always a big event of people trying to rush around with their mobile hotspot and try to get everything set up properly. And yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's live blog at work and then watching the video in the commute back home or when you get home usually.
Yeah, exactly.
And also for Eastern, like it's in Central Time now. So for us here in Montreal, it's at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's a change too.
Yeah.
Usually it's always at 1 when it's in California.
West Coast. Yeah. It'll be fun to watch. All right, so let's start with the news. We'll circle back with the device on that event later. There are still rumors for that. The big news of this week basically is the whole Facebook and Cambridge Analytics kerfuffle. I don't know how deep you want to dive into that. Let's just say basically that Facebook has been doing some practices regarding privacy and data that are quite bad. And even though most industry experts and leaders understood exactly what was happening, it seems that the public never really understood it and never really realized how it worked until this week, where like everything came out of the open and people now finally were able to understand. I'm guessing maybe there was just a bit more vulgarization of the whole issue than there was before. So now people are starting to understand what it means for Facebook to have your data and how it actually gets your data and how it shares your data. And sprinkle on top a bunch of people not doing the right thing by not respecting the terms and conditions of those APIs and tools from Facebook. So the end result is basically siphoning data, using that data for political purposes, and the worst thing is that it's sharing data from your friends and not just your data. So even though if you as a person opt in to that system to share some data, you also automatically opted in that all your friends' data be siphoned together. So that's the worst part, is basically because people are trying to be diligent, those that are privacy aware and concerned, and they want to lock down whatever Facebook shares about them. But in this specific case, even though if you're trying to do that, there was another set of things that you need to set up so that you're not being shared the same way as your friend, because you're a friend of a person that doesn't care about privacy. So yeah, that's a quick summary. I don't know if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, the biggest problem is what they share with third parties when you say sign in with Facebook and all that. So there's a couple of settings that we don't know where they are, and we just found. Well, I don't know where they are because I never use Facebook, but pretty much nobody knows where they are, and you can like tweak what you send to third parties. So we'll put that link in the show notes too, and if you can just review your Facebook settings or just disable your account if you're really paranoid, it might just help. You can start by playing with the settings first and see actually what you're sharing and who you're sharing it to also, because you can see a list of all of the signed in with Facebook.
Yeah, there's the privacy section, which has a bunch of settings relating to who can see your data and who can access it. But the worst part is under the app section, so apps and services that are linked to your account. So like you said, log in with Facebook, or just like an app. Like let's say you grant access to your Facebook profile to TweetDeck, for example. So TweetDeck has a set of scopes that they can use to read your name, read your email. But oftentimes these apps ask way more than what they need. And what happened over the last decade, basically, is people are basically buying old apps that have huge user base with quite liberal scopes, and they basically use those purchased app for another purposes. So let's say you, Tyler, develop an app. Let's say you develop that famous Instagram best 9 photos of the year, whatever, and people are using your service, log in as Instagram, log in as Facebook, whatever, and they grant you access to their profile, their friends list, their birth date, or whatever, like a bunch of private data. And most people, like 90%, will not even look at this list and say, okay, I agree, it's fine. And then after, let's say, a year, your app is dead, you don't really maintain it, but you still have all those access through the API. So I come in the game and I say, hey, Tyler, I know you have an app. How many Facebook authorization basically do you have? So you tell me you have 15,000. Okay, so I'll give you $20,000 to buy back your app. You say, hey, it's great. It's a dead app. I don't really maintain it. So sure, let me make a buck, which makes sense. And then I use your app and I use your connections to those people to basically write my own part of the app to siphon all that information and sell that in bulk to a data harvesting company, for example. Or I can be also an affiliate of a data harvesting company and just add that data to the full data set that I'm selling to my customers. So that's also what happens. So once you're done with the privacy settings, look into the apps and services. There you'll have a bunch of third-party information sharing settings, and also look at all the lists of the apps that you granted. If you're like me and you've been using those things for many years, you probably have a list of 50 of them. So just make sure that whatever is there is still being used by you. If you don't use it anymore, just hit a little X to delete the authorization. And in the end, you'll have a shorter list and a lot less chances of this to be abused.
Do you have a lot of apps in the app section?
Yeah, about 50 or 60. I started to delete them, but it's like click, 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 one is done.
Okay.
Click, 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 one is done. So it's a pain in the ass, but I'll have to just make myself a big mug of coffee and sit through it.
Okay, I wasn't bad. I had one.
One?
Yeah, I never used the login as whatever.
Okay.
I had one, and then I think I had 4, but they were like work related, like test projects and stuff for an app we were working at work. So that I don't even think it exists anymore. So
yeah.
But all I had was Movember. I don't know if you remember that whole thing.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's the only app I had.
Oh, it's not too bad. Not too bad. At least it's a non-profit, so it's probably still around and probably not the worst partner in terms of crimes for privacy data. So it should be okay.
But the rest of my settings were wide open. So if I did, I would share like my whole friend list, my whole everything, online status, everything.
Yeah, because a couple of years back, there was, I think it was the EFF who shared a tool that you basically log in as Facebook to it, and it would guide you up, like tell you like, hey, this setting is active in your Facebook profile. Make sure you set it to this value if you want this behavior. So it was basically like a wizard, like going through all the settings and telling you exactly, are you sure that's what you want? This is the implications of that settings. And I went through that a couple of years back and basically almost disabled everything. So like the most I think that it can get from me is like my name, my email, and my birth date. I think that's about it. Access to my photos is not granted. Friend of my friend or my friend direct, like there's a whole bunch of things that was already disabled. So when I look into that app section, I only had one checkbox out of the, I think there's like 10 or something. So it's not too bad. I don't think I was part of that whole like oversharing of information, but still, it's always a good thing to go back, because also the worst thing is Facebook often does updates and that re-enables some of those checkboxes. So it should be like the smoke alarm in your house. Like every time you change the time to daylight savings time or back, you should go to your Facebook profile and check out all the checkboxes that are for privacy. So
there was also like the whole delete Facebook hashtag going around on Twitter and all of that. What do you think? Could you live without Facebook? Like, could you do delete Facebook?
Well, no, because I have like Facebook pages for all my sites and services. So for me, it's not a tool I use to share anything. I don't share to Facebook very rarely, maybe once a year. I don't, unless it's maybe like a cross post from Instagram, which also is posted to Facebook, but I don't share my thoughts. I don't share family photos there. So for me, it's just like another like social backend for my blogs or my sites so yes, I could live without Facebook, but since that I have to live with it because of those pages, I don't really care, because I think I log in Facebook maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's mostly just to clear the notifications, and that's it. Like it's rare. I rarely have people contact me over there. Got a few friends with whom I chat with Messenger, but that's a separate app for me. So it's very minimal. So I could live without it, but I need to live with it if I want to still handle those pages.
Okay, I could do it no problem also because I don't use it, but I found it like everybody's saying just delete Facebook, but a lot of people like have businesses that rely on Facebook. It's not that easy of a solution, and where are you going to find all those friends and people if I know like I have friends that have big groups like help groups on Facebook, like regional groups if you want, like of people that help each other in the same region, like hey, I have this old baby carriage for sale, and like big online communities. It's like the Usenet but for more accessible for people. So I found it a bit like harsh. You can't just delete Facebook. Like what's the other solution? Yes, deleting Facebook is going to fix this whole thing, but people use it as a tool and they need something else to use. They can't just delete Facebook like that. Like the people that are going to be able to delete Facebook are like me and you that don't really use it. But a lot of people have like a lot of investment in Facebook and they get a lot of value out of Facebook. So I found it a bit weird as a campaign to go around.
Yeah, well, it's a double-edged sword. Like Mark Zuckerberg keeps on saying that they're building communities and everything, and people in the tech are like, "Yeah, bullshit, you're just selling our data." But in the end, yes, it is a community, and there's so many people using it as a very specialized or very organized community, and that's a good thing for people. There is real value for Facebook. The only problem is that the value you get from it also comes with an added negativity, which is the oversharing of private information. So I think the ideal way is not to delete your Facebook and just get out of this social network at all. It's to just keep using it like you do, but be conscientious of the settings and go into your settings and change those settings so that at least you're not set up to overshare your or your friends' information. But the worst thing I find is that like there's this big delete Facebook campaign that was if not started by iMore, but like iMore jumped on it like a lot. But they're the first to have a bunch of Facebook Connect libraries loaded on their website, so they are part of the problem of allowing Facebook to track users that go on their sites. So and they need to do that for business purposes, because for ad revenues to be of a certain level, you need to track users at a certain level, and I understand that. But don't be like a double face like that and say, okay, you should delete your Facebook, but in the end, you're like in the original problem directly. So just be straight. Say, okay, like you should delete your Facebook if you don't use it or if you don't want to be tracked. That's fine. We as a company cannot go forth with this because we really need to use that to get a good amount of revenue from it as a business. So, and that could also work. You can also say that you're going to try to make things different, going to try to not use Facebook Connect and whatever. But there are still people, and you can give numbers, like maybe 10% of your users are actually using Facebook Connect to log into iMore. So that's another thing that you can say. So it's just transparency, but just don't try to play the game of the victim there and say that you have to delete your Facebook right off the bat and not care about anything. Like there's always more to the story than that, and just don't be surfing the wave of like sensationalism and drama and everything just for fun.
Yeah, it was the same thing for iMore when the whole, when what's it called, ad blockers were introduced to iOS 10, I think that summer.
Yeah,
like it was a big thing, and people were saying, "Oh, look at all these sites," and iMore was like one of the biggest problem. And iMore was the site that was like explaining how to install ad blockers and all that.
Yeah, it made no sense at this point once again. But I understand iMore's position of trying to help users to block bad actors if you want, but don't just put a mask on that says that you're a white
a white knight.
You're a white knight, and like you are not part of the problem. Like you are also serving tons of ads. You are also consuming lots of bandwidth on people's mobile plan because your site loads 10 or 20 megs of ad whatever stuff. Just be straightforward and transparent about this, and that will be much better. Because now what happens is that for the second time, iMore has like an image of some guy trying to do something, but he does totally the opposite. Like it's not a good thing for your image, not a good thing for your site and for your readers, and you're gonna lose some readers for that, just for sure. So in the end, just be transparent and just be forthcoming about everything, and it should be much better. Moving on to Apple, that is now developing its very own screen technology. People tend to have like a short memory in the tech space, because I remember when Apple purchased the micro LED company, like I don't know if it was a year back or 9 months back, something like that. So for me, it was not a surprise. I knew that all this time they were working on some special technology. From the name, I could only assume that it's a LED display that is, instead of having like a backlight in the behind the panel, each and every LED has its own backlight. So they are micro, like the name says. It's basically using the same setup as an OLED screen, but instead of having an organic LED, you have a standard LED that is reliable, that is solid, that does not suffer from screen retention, but also have the same contrast power that OLED has because they are individual cells. And yeah, so that's what they were working on. And I don't know what's happening recently, but it came out in the news that they probably have some device in-house that are using those micro LED screens, that this will allow for slimmer, brighter, and less power-hungry gadgets. So I'm all for it. And that's exactly what Apple has to do to have a few years leap in front of their competitors. If you remember when they did the first iPhone, they had the touch panel, the screen and everything was like ahead of its game, and it took about 2 years for Android to catch back. And same thing for Touch ID. When Touch ID was announced and released, it was amazing. It was fast. It could have been faster, but it was fast. And then Android trying to follow suit in the following months. The first Touch ID-like phones were crap, and then the next year started to get better, but it really took like 2 years for Android manufacturers to catch up. And now it's the exact same thing. If they have this screen technology, of course, they're not going to be the one manufacturing them because they don't have the installations to do it. But they might order Samsung and maybe Japan display panel company to make them. But in the end, that technology will be exclusive to the iPhone. And that will be also another 2 years of technology that is only available there. Look at all the CPUs that were cranked out from the PA Semi acquisition for a couple of years back. All the A series CPUs designed in-house and built by Samsung or other partners. That again, up to this day, is way more powerful than what Snapdragon can provide you in an Android phone, and also much more optimized for what you want to do. You have the exact number of high-speed cores, exact number of low-intensity core, so this way you can manage your power much better. And what happens in the end is your battery is 2600 milliamps, and in an Android phone to get the similar power, basically battery life, you basically need like a 3000 or 3500 milliamp hour battery. So that all that adds up to have special features that are exclusive for 2 years, and that is exactly how to lead in this in the game.
Okay, so I found the old article from 2014 when they bought, it's called LuxView, micro LED company that was 5 years old at the time. So OLED has been out for a while. I didn't know. I didn't even know micro LED existed before this news this week. So unlike you, I don't have this super elephant brain, and I don't remember old articles from old Apple purchases.
Well, you should ask my wife about my memory. That thing is not great.
And I like everything you said is exactly right. This is like what Apple does is it's going to make a display for like perfect their specs for their features, how they want it to work, and they're going to hire a company or place not place an order, but yeah, they're going to but they're going to send the spec that they want to the company, and they're going to get it made exactly like they want, exactly for their device to be optimized for exactly what they want to do. And that's why the A series is so good compared to like the Snapdragon, whatever, because it's made exactly for the iPhone, and it has exactly the right CPU to do Face ID and Touch ID as fast as they want, and not too fast, not too much, just enough so it doesn't use enough battery. And it's all part of the integration, or the hardware and software thing that we always talk about. It's exactly this.
Yeah. And also, like you just mentioned, Face ID, and that's the following news we had on the list, is like Android manufacturers like confirmed that they will not be pursuing a Face ID technology in the short term, or because it is too expensive to integrate. Like the components, the technology, probably the R&D also, that is too complicated for them to do. So they're gonna probably prefer to use in-display fingerprint reader, like that Vivo phone that we saw not too long ago at CES, that had basically like a little sensor below the screen. So if you were tilting your phone while the display was off, you could see a little region that is like a square that has that technology through the display. But once the display lights up, you don't see it. So it's I think that's where they're going to go. So they probably are now all scrambling to partner with that company to get their technology in their display. So yeah, once again, Apple invested a lot. They purchased the company behind the Xbox sensor for what's it called?
The Kinect.
Yeah, the Kinect, and they basically made that shrink and included that technology for Face ID, and nobody else can do it right now. Maybe they'll come back in 2 years and find a way to go around. Maybe because CPUs or computing devices will be stronger and they'll be able, or more efficient, and they'll be able to just eventually get to that just by the Moore's law of things evolving. But for now, it's way too expensive for them, so they just skip that.
I still can't believe how cool Face ID is and how well it works compared to Touch ID for me. Like, I don't even want to hear about like Touch ID in the screen thing. I don't care. I just look at my phone, it's unlocked. My hands could be super wet. My hands could be like in gloves, like big ski gloves, and it doesn't care. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect technology for you, so I'm happy for you.
It was made for me.
Yeah, they had your name on the whiteboard.
Yeah, on a little post-it.
Yeah, for Tyler, let's take this feature and move it to in progress.
Exactly, on their Scrum board.
Exactly. All right, so on a lighter note, we basically have a new spring release of bands and colors and styles and everything. So woven nylon bands, sport loops, classic buckles, new Nike sport loops, new Hermes loops. There's even one which has a couple of holes in it. I think it's the single tour rally, it's called. So
who even knows?
It's a bunch of bands.
Who even knows about like these Hermes things? Nobody. I've never seen one in real life.
Yeah, me neither. It's probably just people like in Milan or Paris or fashion people. So.
Yeah, the one with the holes there, I'll show you what it's from, what it looks like to me. It's like
a golf thing, no?
No, it's like in cars, like the A pillar in race cars. They drill holes in the A pillars to make it lighter, and it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but anyways, it's always good to have more styles. This cannot really tell us anything about future products or future bands or future Apple Watches, but I would be like, people keep on saying that they expect Apple to eventually change the band format and like make it so it's incompatible with the newer watches that will come up eventually. But I don't think they need to do that. Like, the band itself is so small, you could shrink like the thickness of the watch by half and still find a way to connect the exact same bands. The bands are only telling you that you need to have a certain curvature on the corners and a certain thickness, but it's so thin that it can be like really, really, really small. And I don't understand why people keep on expecting that Apple will change that. If I was Apple, since this is a fashion accessory, since people have been buying bands every year for a couple of years, I wouldn't change that. Like, you want people to keep on using their bands as long as they want to, especially if it's a fashion thing. Then you have like 5 or 10 colors. You don't want them to throw those away and buy new ones, because you're going to irritate one of your most profitable, I would say, customer, because the bands are probably very cheap to make, and at the price they're selling them, they make a hefty profit out of those. So I don't see why people freak out about that. For me, it's clear that the watch will change eventually, but the bands will remain compatible.
Do you remember the 30-pin connector?
Yeah.
Do you remember all the accessories they used to sell for that?
Yeah, but that's different because it was made like a decade before, where it had to be a certain thickness to work. And now we were trying to get to a certain thinness that was not possible. But in this case, the Apple Watch is so big compared to the band itself that I can see like Apple like cutting half of the thickness of the watch and still having place to put in the same bands. So I don't foresee a future where, okay, maybe like in 10 years they might do something, but like not a couple of years after. But even in 10 years, I don't think they will ever do it. They shouldn't do it because it should work.
Yeah, me neither. I'm the first one that's gonna cry if they don't support the old bands. I used to switch them a lot, but since I've got the loop, Milanese loop, I'd basically wear that one all day because of like the micro adjustments and how like how fine tuned I can put my band on in the morning and slack it at night or whatever. And
Yeah.
I really liked the process of like switching bands. And I used to have I still have them. I just don't wear them anymore. I have an orange, a black, and like a nylon, not loop, but a just nylon band.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
And I really like switching them all the time, but I don't do it anymore. Just seeing this, it reminds me that I should take out the old ones and put them on sometimes because it's just a nice refresh.
Yeah, like you, I have two bands, one regular dark midnight blue and one woven nylon band. And I only keep the woven nylon band because it's just the fit is perfect for my wrist. Whereas the plastic one, I kind of need to be in between two holes. So it's either too loose or too tighten. So I don't really like it. So that's why the nylon band for me is the best. Although it requires maintenance. So you need to wash it once in a while because it starts to stink. So it's not the best for that, but still, it's something that I can live with. And in the end, I like the look of this woven nylon that is black. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, eventually, if I change my old Series 0 Apple Watch for a Series 3, maybe refurbished, I'll probably get a couple bands just for the fun of it.
Try the Sport Loop.
Yeah, that's what's in my list. Should be something very interesting to try. Just because it's a loop and you can
adjust it,
adapt it more. Yeah, I don't think it's as flexible as your Milanese loop because it's thicker, but nonetheless, it should be better than what I have right now.
I tried in the store; it was really bulky, where like the loop doubles, but I guess it's gonna like flatten out once you start wearing it a bit.
Yeah, it's probably that's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna be looser and it's gonna be more flexible and less rigid. So yeah,
because it was really bulky and it get caught up in like my winter jacket and all that.
Okay, all right. So circling back to the news we had in the follow up, Apple. There are more rumors now that Apple is really trying to attract students with a low cost iPad, and people are saying that this is probably what's going to be announced at the Chicago event. So trying to really get back into education, trying to win back the market share that the Google Chromebooks and stuff like that took over from Apple, because buying a laptop that's $300 is much more interesting than buying an iPad that's $500 plus the keyboard plus the case plus this and that. So maybe we'll see finally a low cost base iPad that can be used for school. Hopefully they don't cheap out on the processor. Hopefully they have a new processor that is super powerful so then can last a couple of years in education, because I would be the first to buy one for my household. So I like something to be powerful and last a long time, especially for iPads, because if my iPad 2 was still fast, I would still use it. So it really is a problem of performance. So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm not really interested, but yeah, it'd be a good thing. Like for me personally,
Right.
sorry, not as in general.
Yeah, because you have an iPad Pro, so you're good to go for a while.
Yeah, and you don't switch iPads as frequently as you switch phones. For me, because I don't use them really as much as my phone.
Yeah. For both of us, it's like mostly a living room computer.
Exactly.
So it's not something you change often. You just pick it up, look something up, and that's it.
And then we have a AirPods audiophile review. Did you finish? Did you ever buy AirPods? I feel like you're always on like the brink of buying them, just on the edge of buying a pair of AirPods.
I am on the edge. I'm living on the edge, as they say.
Yeah, but you've been like on the edge for the past like 6 months. I feel like you're like, oh man, I need AirPods.
Yeah, well, I want something small because my big Bose headset is great for noise canceling, and it's great for winter because it covers my ears.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
Yeah, it's earmuffs, so it's perfect. But I always have a problem with summertime where it's hotter and I get all sweaty, especially now because all my earmuffs are like super cracked, so it's gonna be full of sweat and grime and whatever. And that's not going to be a fun part. And also, if I have those on, I cannot ride my skateboard because I cannot hear what's happening around me. So I'm figuring out that having AirPods, which are smaller, which are not noise canceling, which I can keep in my ear, or at least one ear, and continue to listen to my podcast while I ride my skateboard, all that makes sense. The only thing is there's two things. One, I don't know how they fit because I've never tried them on. I don't have much problems with the regular earpods.
You'll be fine then.
So I should be fine. But then again, I was thinking, is there like a solution? And a friend of mine, GP Sirois, basically bought them, and he also started to try with different techniques of like putting little rubber gasket around them to make them a little bit thicker and hiding like a hole and or two or whatever. And basically the sound changes, the bass is better, the fit is better, and they still fit in the case. So there's ways, there's wiggle room, as they say, to adapt them to a specific situation. So that could be okay. But the only thing that I'm not sure about is at this point, there's probably just a new pair on the corner, and I wouldn't want to shed $220 for a pair of AirPods. And like in 2 months, there's a new one coming out that is using the HomePod technology to be better or whatever. So I don't know. It's I'm half and half. So I'm really on the edge. I would like to, not sure yet. But then again, it's tax season, so maybe I'll be convinced by my tax returns. So we'll see. Not too sure.
Do you want to wait at least for the power mat upgrade case, just in case? Case in case.
Seriously, no. In case of the case, no. I don't find it nice. I prefer my material duck I have from Studio Neat. I'm a really big fan of wood stuff. So right now my duck is made of wood. My bedside table is made of wood, so that's all nice. I don't want to put like a big white plastic thing on top, so that doesn't look good for me. So I don't care about that, especially even after all these months. People who have AirPods, they'll keep on saying that you don't need to recharge them that often. And the way that it works, once in a while, you just think about plugging them in and you never miss out on power. So I don't think it's an issue. I don't think I need a mat to place my AirPods every night to be sure that there's power for them. Even people who are listening to podcasts all day long, they all seem to have no problem at all with that. So no, I don't think that's for me. I don't have any iPhone 10 either or iPhone 8, so I cannot use it for the phone. So I would only have a pad for my AirPods. Wouldn't make sense. My watch, not compatible. So no, not gonna be interested by that product. But the AirPods, yes, I like it. I also like when they make a good product like this one, and there's a bunch of companies making little accessories for it. And I really like to try out those little accessories like ear hooks and stuff like that, lanyard, whatever. So I would have loved to have one just to try what everybody is also selling. Like there's pouches that are made of rubber that are waterproof, so you can have them around your belt or even around your swimming suit when you go at the beach. And if you get splashed, it's okay because they're protected. So there's a bunch of little things there that should be interesting to test.
Yeah, that's why I bought a HomePod. I really wanted to buy coasters.
Yeah, it's perfect match, man.
Yeah, that's why. I like accessories that have to buy with your devices.
You can even get some artisanally made ones.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Perfect. Handmade, what is that? Cork. Yeah, handmade cork.
Yeah, handmade cork.
So yeah, going back to the article that that created this discussion, The Verge kind of piggybacked on the Reddit story of the guy that did the HomePod audiophile review. So they posted like an Apple AirPods, the audiophile review. So it's once again Vlad Savov, the one who went to the Hasselblad factory last week. Basically, he goes around after using them for a couple of months. Around basically, is it like an audiophile product? And he says that no, it's not a perfect audio product, but it's good enough. It's not something that will revolutionize the audiophile realm, if you want, but it's all of the rest of the features are what makes this like so good of a product to use. So I don't really think much of that article. It's basically a good product. It's a product that's quite open because it also works with Android device. Not all the features work, but at least they are compatible. So in a world where Apple tends to double down on its inside wall, basically, to keep every other product or companies outside and being incompatible, this product kind of embraces other phones also and devices. So it's impressive. It's interesting to see. It basically rehashes what everybody knows about the AirPods, that they're well made, they're well thought of, the features work. The battery management stuff is amazing. The pairing is super easy. The swapping of device usually works fine until you have a lot of devices, and now it gets confused sometimes. But like if you have one or two devices, you can be sure that it's going to work all the time. And yeah, so that's the regular stuff that we know. And finally, on the music side of things, Jimmy Iovine is basically fired from Apple, but
No,
not yet.
no, he's not fired. Why you say
No.
that?
It's a planned exit.
Yeah.
So he was the Beats co-founder. He was brought on board with the Beats acquisition with Dr. Dre, and he's a longtime guy from the music industry. He did a bunch of albums. He worked on partnerships. He works with a ton of artists. So he's like one of the old guys that knows everyone, that knows how to swim around in that music business thing, basically. So it was announced that he will be transitioning to a consulting role in August and stepping back from daily involvement. So, okay, is it? There's two ways to read through this. Either his ideas did not match what Apple had in mind, so he's being fired. But since it's an acquisition and he's such a major player in the industry, they're basically phasing him out over 6 months. Or it was always the plan that when they do such type of acquisition, the executives of the company they acquire usually have to remain with the Apple or the purchasing company for 6 months, 1 year, 13 months, 18 months, whatever. But they still have to remain until they can basically go out of the company. And then they also have like a non-compete agreement so that they will not try to compete in the same area of the market that they were purchased from. So Jimmy Iovine couldn't go out, let's say in September, and launch like the double Beats headphones and try to do the same thing. So that wouldn't work. He would get sued in justice and he will lose for sure. But still, fired, not fired, planned exit because he just wants to do something else. We don't know. But it's interesting to see that he's going out.
Yeah, and it might be just like a retirement. Also, he's like, I want to retire. I'm done.
That can also be it.
But everybody's reading this as like he doesn't match with like management and whatever. So I don't.
Well,
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's the thing is, Apple works well right now and has always worked well since Steve came back because Steve put in place people that are thinking the same way. So it's easy to get agreements. It's easy to have a vision. It's easy to go straight. But now they purchased that company for its assets, for its technology, for its products. But those executives, they require to have a management role that is high enough that they can have an impact on the company. But the problem is that they are not from Apple. They don't drink the Kool-Aid for 25 years plus. So they are coming with new ideas, new ways to approach this. The music industry was always on the other receiving end of the stick from Apple, but now this person is now on the same side of Apple. So there must be clashes. There must have been amazing stories that we'll eventually learn from probably them or somebody else in the coming decade or two about the clash after this acquisition and the way that they were used to make business, the way that Apple prefers to make business, and the way that like their products were designed and made, and they had like a product roadmap for them that basically wouldn't fit into iTunes, Apple Music, and so it's going to be like a shit show, like they say, basically, of intense discussion and maybe even screaming and stuff like that. So yeah, because these are all people that are super passionate about their business and their craft. So of course, if Apple doesn't take what Jimmy Iovine brings to the table seriously, he's going to be pissed. And I don't know the guy personally, but everybody has like a breaking point where after being ignored for a while, you just are fed up and you just scream your way out. So maybe that's what happened. Anyways, lots of drama in my head, but maybe not in reality. We'll have to see and wait in a couple of decades to see what's with that. And then we're moving to your corner. This is a favorite corner.
Rumors corner. So people are saying there's going to be a new iPhone next week. Not next week, in a couple of years. And in a couple of years, it's going to fold. And then they're going to start with new colors. Rumors corner is done.
Wow, that was quick. Yeah, that foldable phone, man.
It's back.
I think it's just Bank of America trying to have some some coverage.
Yeah, but it's back. It came back.
Yeah, but
They were talking about the Samsung foldable phone a couple of years ago, or last summer. It's just an infinite cycle.
But does that even make sense? Like, what's the point of having a foldable phone? Like,
Protect
the phones
screen.
we have in our pocket. Yeah, but even then, like, you have like little rubber feet so that the screen doesn't touch itself. And like, I don't understand. Like, having a big phone in your pocket is big enough. Like, why would you need more than that? It feels to me that this is like a requirement for a very, very specific use that is not mass market. So I don't think it would work. Like, I can see people, let's say, for example, like train repair guys who have a phone in their pocket, and then when they get under the train, they can take that same device and unfold it to become a tablet and have access to parts of the schematics of the train or whatever. So yes, that would make sense because you have a job that requires you to have condensed information and then detailed information and bigger screen. So that's one device instead of two. But I don't see myself having the need to unfold the phone to have a bigger screen. That makes totally no sense. When I need a bigger screen, it's because I'm at my house. At my house, I can have an iPad. So at work, I have a computer. So I don't see it at all. So let's just say that this is crap.
Okay, done. I'm good with that.
All right. So then it's Digitime who says that the next OLED iPhone will have a manufacturing bill of material much lower than the iPhone 10. Duh. So like, once again, a non-news thing here. Basically, new phones, new devices, new size, cheaper to make. Cool. Next.
I love how you're doing these this week.
Yeah.
Continue.
And
you're on a good run.
The last one is cool because I was thinking about this before the show. Next year, next June, basically, we'll have new iPhone 10s, iPhone 11s. I don't know what the name will be, iPhone 10 2, whatever. But the rumors are going in a way that there's going to be two sizes, probably a big one and a regular one. But if you remember back in 2016 when they came out with the Plus phone in China, there was two things that really sparked this amazing sales numbers. Is the size. So they wanted big phones, and they also wanted a gold-looking phone. So this new rumor says that Apple still plans to sell an iPhone 10 in blush gold. So it's a pinkish gold color that would, I would assume, be super popular in China. And especially if they make a bigger version of the iPhone 10, this 2019 year could be a year that is very similar to 2016 in terms of sales per quarter in China. So even though Apple already has covered most of the globe, so there's no major markets that it can still tackle to sell a billion more phones, this combination of color and size and technology and look could trigger a bunch more sales in China, and thus having record-setting quarters again. So that's going to be interesting to see. I still hope for a black front and red back iPhone 10 2, but we'll see.
I saw a red phone yesterday in the train.
Yeah.
I always forget about those.
Yeah, they're pretty nice, but they have a white front. That just killed me.
Yeah.
And finally, the last thing, Apps Corner. You wanted to give us a few words about C++ 3.0?
Yeah, there was an update to Sleep++. It's a sleeping tracking app by _David Smith, and it's great. He now included automatic sleep tracking, so you just wear your watch to bed, and it tracks when you sleep, and then in the morning it sends you a nice little report if you enable the notifications and about how you just slept and everything. It's a really nice update. Sleep tracking, obviously you have to enable it, and he uses like all the health data that the watch is gathering, and he can detect like when you actually fell asleep. I tried it 2-3 times this week. It works exactly like it says. Like I checked, okay, it's 11:35. I went to bed, and the next morning I got the report saying you slept from 11:35 to whatever. So it's really cool how it works, and I really like the new feature of getting the notification in the morning to see how you slept and all that. And the sleep, like the automatic sleep tracking. Also, I used to always forget when I'd started, and then I'd have to trim like my night if you want, because I'd realize at like 2 in the afternoon, and it'd say I'd be sleeping for like 20 hours or something. So I'd have to. Well, he added a trim. That's why he added like the trim your night thing a couple of versions back. But the new automatic sleeping is even easier. And with my new watch, it's even easier also, because I just put it on the charge for like half an hour at night before going to bed. I put it on my wrist, sleep. When I wake up, I put it back on the charger while I brush my teeth and get ready, and then it's basically good for all day, all the time.
So two half an hour's recharge cycles is enough to put it to 100%, or at least like 80%, I guess, to cover the whole day.
Oh no, 100.
And
yeah.
Oh yeah, 100. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And also there's the bedtime reminder. You forgot this one.
Yeah, I added that also. Like at 11:45 you should go to bed. That's what it says to me.
11:45, that's late, man. Anyways. Yeah, I just had like a thought cross my mind.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I know what you mean. I know what you're thinking about.
All right, so that's it for this week. You can find show notes at rgba.fm/84. You can find us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. You can find me personally on Twitter at Valia, VALLIERES.
And I'm Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD on Twitter.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.